Have you ever noticed how many times in TV series or movies you hear the sentences, I don't have a choice, or I didn't have a choice? Usually just before doing something terrible or having already done something terrible. Today we're diving deep into one of the most limiting sentences we've all said at some point. We'll understand why we have learned to say that, the impact it has on our belief system, and how we can rewrite the script to empower ourselves. But sometimes there really isn't a choice, Greg. All that solved, because by the end of this video, I guarantee you'll see things differently. Hey, my name is Greg from Renew. I'm a master coach helping people, teams, and organizations to know themselves, design their future self, and become their future selves. Renew and I are here to help you live a life where you have control. Let's talk about the power of words. I'm talking about the everyday language we use that shapes the way we see the world. And that includes phrases like, I don't have a choice. Every time we say that sentence, it sounds like we close a door, right? We tell ourselves and the world that we are stuck, powerless, and out of options. Most of the time, that door isn't even locked. We've convinced ourselves it is without ever checking the handle. This sentence, I don't have a choice, or its cousins like, I'm stuck, or it is what it is, reinforces a mindset of helplessness. Here is a quick thought experiment for you. Imagine you're on a sinking ship. One person is running around saying, there's no way out, we're doomed. While another one is yelling, let's find a solution, we must find a way out. Both people are in the same situation, but who do you think stands a better chance of survival? The person who believes in possibilities is more likely to find them, simply because their brain is tuned to look for them. This concept is supported by psychology, particularly cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT for short. In CBT, we learn that the way we talk to ourselves directly impacts our emotions and behaviors. You see, the language we use isn't just about words, it's about the mindset that follows. The belief that you have no choice is powerful, but so is a realization that you do have a choice. When you change your language, you start opening doors again. Why do we say it in the first place? I mean, it's not like we want to feel stuck. So what's going on here? Fear. It's one of the biggest drivers behind the idea of I don't have a choice. Think about it. Every time we feel like we have no options, there is usually a fear lurking beneath the surface. It could be fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of conflict. Fear convinces us that taking certain actions would be too risky or too painful. These fears keep us in a place of inaction because sometimes the fear of making a tough decision seems greater than the pain of staying where we are. But here is a catch. Not choosing is still a choice. And the more we let fear control our choices, the more powerless we feel. Another reason we fall into the trap of saying, I don't have a choice, comes from social conditioning. Think about all the times you've heard others say it. Maybe your parents, teachers, bosses, or friends. We're surrounded by people who've bought into the idea that some things are simply out of control. And over time, we internalize that belief. From a young age, we're often taught that certain paths are non-negotiable. You have to live up to certain expectations. And while these might be well-meaning guidelines, they can reinforce the idea that we're bound by what's expected of us rather than what we truly want. Let's talk about decision fatigue. You know those days when you are completely drained from making decisions and you feel like you just can't handle one more choice. That's decision fatigue at work. Psychologists have found that the more decisions we make throughout the day, the more depleted our mental energy becomes. And when our brain is tired, we fall back on the easiest choice, the one that requires the least effort. And that choice is often not to choose. It feels like the only option, but really, it's just the brain's way of conserving energy. One of my favorite perspectives on this topic comes from Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. He wrote about this idea in his famous book, Man's Search for Meaning. Frankl believes that even in the most dire circumstances, we still have the power to choose our attitude and response. Frankl said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. If you like this video so far, then you know what to do. Also subscribe and put on the notifications if you want to receive content like this every week. And check out in the description below all the other YouTube links and YouTube videos that talk about the same concept of not having a choice. Here is something to think about. When you say, I don't have a choice, you're not just describing a situation. You're actively reinforcing a belief that you're powerless. It's like telling your brain, don't bother looking for solutions. They don't exist. Neuroscience backs this up. Every time you repeat a phrase like can't or there's no way, you're strengthening the neural pathways that lead to those feelings of limitation. It's like driving down the same road over and over until it becomes the only road you know. But here's the good news. Just like words can limit you, they can also liberate you. One small shift in language can completely change the way you see a situation. Let me show you. Take the phrase, I don't have a choice. Now, replace it with, I'm choosing this because. Suddenly, you're back in the driver's seat. Even if the options are tough or less than ideal, you're no longer powerless. You're taking ownership of your decision. Notice the difference? This is one of the core principles in neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, which teaches us that changing the way we describe our reality can actually change the way we experience it. Let's look at some everyday examples. Have you ever said something like, I have to go to work, or I need to do this task, or I can't change my job? This might seem like harmless phrases, but they reinforce the idea that you're operating without choice. When we say things like, I have to, it puts us in a passive role. It tells our brain, you're being controlled by something outside of yourself. But what if you said, I choose to go to work because I'm committed to my financial goals? Or I'm choosing to stick with this job for now while I explore new opportunities. Do you see how that works? It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about reminding yourselves that you still have agency, even when things are tough. Here we're going to explore how to not only shift your language, but also your mindset and behavior, so you can stop feeling stuck and start living in alignment with your true power. Let's start with something simple but life-changing: mindfulness. You know that moment when you catch yourself saying, I don't have a choice? The thought actually starts long before you say the words. The challenge is, we often move through life on autopilot, so we don't even realize we're reinforcing limiting beliefs until they've already slipped out of our mouths. Mindfulness is about catching those thoughts before they become words. It's about developing an awareness of your internal dialogue, pausing, and choosing a more empowering thought, one that leads to better decisions and clearer actions. I get it. Easier said than done, right? So let's make it practical. One way to build this mindfulness is through a simple practice called the 3-second rule. When you catch a negative thought, give yourself 3 seconds to stop and ask, is this thought actually true? Is there another way to see this? Once you've caught that limiting thought, the next step is to reframe it. We touched on this earlier, but now we're going to dive deeper into the process of reframing, using what's called the language of possibility. Let's take a common limiting thought like, I'm stuck in this job. How can we reframe it? You might say, I'm choosing to stay in this job while I develop a plan to transition into something better. Now, does that mean the situation is perfect? No. But it shifts the focus from feeling trapped to acknowledging your power to choose. Another example is, I can't handle this. You can say, I'm feeling overwhelmed, but I can break this down into smaller steps. Or, there's no way out, which you can transform into, I haven't found the best solution yet, but I'm actively searching. Or, I'm not good at this, which becomes, I'm still learning and every challenge is making me better. So you've caught the thought, you've reframed it, what's next? Action. Because here is the thing, mindset alone isn't enough. You have to pair your new thoughts with behaviors that moves you forward, even if the steps are small. Here is where a lot of people get stuck. They change their language, but their behavior stays the same. They say, I choose to stay in this job for now, but they never take the steps to explore other opportunities. Remember that small actions compound over time. Let's say you are feeling stuck in your career. What are some small steps you can take to start moving toward a better future? You might set aside 30 minutes a day to research new opportunities. Or maybe you reach out to one new contact each week to expand your network. You don't have to leap into the unknown all at once. Just keep moving. Your self-talk is incredibly powerful. If your internal dialogue is constantly saying, I'm not good enough, or I'll never figure this out, you're not giving yourself the chance to succeed. Next time you catch yourself saying something like, I'm not good at this, pause and ask, how can I reframe this into something more constructive? Maybe it becomes, I'm still learning and I'm making progress. Or instead of saying, I'll never figure this out, try, I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm getting closer. Small shifts in your inner dialogue can have a huge impact on your confidence and your willingness to take action. It's like building a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. Now let's bring everything together with one final exercise. I want you to think of a situation where you've been feeling stuck, like you don't have any choices. Write it down. Now, next to the situation, I want you to write down 3 choices you do have, even if they're difficult. For example, if you're stuck in a job, your choices might be to start looking for new opportunities, to have a conversation with your manager, or to adjust your approach to the work you're doing. Once you've written them down, ask yourself, which choice feels most empowering to me right now? You don't have to act on it immediately, but simply acknowledging that you have a choice shifts you from a place of powerlessness to empowerment. So here's my final question for you. How would your life change if you fully embrace your ability to choose, even in the hardest situations? What would it look like if you took ownership of your decisions, your language, and your mindset, knowing that each one is a step toward the life you want to live? Changing your words is not just a verbal exercise. It is essentially about deciding to take responsibility for yourself. If you want to transform your life, you have to take full ownership of your words, your actions, and the choices you make, whether they're tough, uncomfortable, or empowering. Which leads me to this quote from Nelson Mandela: I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. If you want to dig deeper into how our words shape our minds and vice versa, you will be interested in the impact that the word just has in ourselves and others. Check it out here.